Hello guys and welcome back. So, we are still at our tier board and we are talking today about the third generation. So, we covered the new generation with Diamond, Pearl and Platinum, and what I didn't want to have, why I split it, is just the fact that how much changes Heart Gold and Soul Silver brought into the whole Pokemon universe, and it was just a really up to date, have to say, um, easily the best games out there in regards of Pokemon. So if you have ever the chance to introduce Pokemon to someone new, I would go with the remakes because they are really has concentrated or evaluated really every benefit Pokemon had or everything that people liked about it, and yeah, and developed this whole new reboot. I guess since they also know that Gold and Silver was still their, guess, most beloved game, so they put also a huge ton of effort into it to really make this reboot workable, bring to the new generation. I mean, first of all, you had this tremendous new cool graphic that the DS brought. Um, And second of all, since I earlier said that Gen 4 more or less tried fixing the second generation with the weak Pokemons, that wasn't the issue now. And since the whole improvement with new typings, it was like a window to the older generation, since it was the first time that you could have a fixed variation of the second generation Pokemons that Generation 4 brought with a updated graphic, and also you could go back to Kanto. So I think if you look at it this way, the DS is possibly the one game Gen 4 that you could visit the most regions, right? So you had the new Sinnoh one, you could go to Kanto, and you could go to Johto. And that's why I think it deserved so much more attention than any other Pokemon game up until still today, up to today standard still. By far, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, have to say, are really great examples of how to make remakes. Um, I mean, speaking about it, um, it's more or less the, a really good reboot. It's the same story, the same way Generation 2 played, but this is also one big issue that Generation 2 had was the slow progress, right? I mean, it's the one game that you can go to the Elite Four and with Pokemons around the level of 30 and still are have really decent chance to win against the Elite Four. So really fast forward. It was obviously back then the issue that just they run out of space since they want to integrate both regions to one single game. And this problem will taking also together into the reboots. Um, but yeah, besides of that, I mean, you also have they didn't, what I really am thankful about, they didn't change the difficulty rate. I mean, you all already heard the most brutal arena fight ever, the second gym batch in Ducatia City, um, with this mill tank, and it really deserved the name tank. I can remember how I tried at least 20 to 30 times until I got the batch, because there's no chance to really have a good counter strategy about their mill tank. Um, and yeah, they didn't change that, which I'm really thankful. And beside that, let us talk about the one improvement everybody wants to hear about and we all already know, is that your Pokemon is following you around. The spirit of it, and this was made, and you have to think about it as a reboot, right? You have a reboot where they really created 400 different follow-up animation, only to have this follow-up experience, and this worked so good. And it was not only some visual nuance for the generation itself, but it was more like also the fact that by following you, your Pokemon's attention against the player itself went greater. So the affection rose with it. So this means you could also train faster your EVs if you want to make an your Umbreon. Um, by the way, had to be obviously at the night if you want to have it as an Umbreon. But at the same time, so it brought a lot of affection to it. Same goes for Xbat, and yeah, it was a cool way, not only the visual feature, but also how it impacted the Pokemons itself. Then, next big thing, the Pokemon Arena, where you had a lot of the mini games, and this is the one thing that I have to say, which they did really correct. Instead of having like back then in Ruby and Sapphire, these competitions where you couldn't win a lot, you could finally win some rare berries and even some starter Pokemons. Um, this and the mini games itself were decent, and yeah, that this brought back this spirit of the Pokemon Gen 1 and Gen 2 back with. They really don't want to focus not only on the Pokemon itself, but on the whole area, on the whole gaming experience itself, by really giving the player possibility to not only make your fights and let your and breed your Pokemons and so ever, but more or less experience the whole game itself by giving additional mini games, which they did tremendously good. And obviously, with the new Wi-Fi capabilities, you finally were also possible to really fill up your decks, get your all legendaries, and had the possibility now to change between not only that you could change Pokemons between the third generation, so with Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, you also had the possibility, since you are in Johto and encountered 3 regions, and also with the if you had the previous third generation games, that you can put your Ruby, Emerald, Sapphire, Leaf Green, Fire Red cartridge behind the Game Boy plate, the Game Boy Advance docking of your DS, and could transfer your Gen 3 Pokemons over to the third generation. So I guess you had the best chance to fill up your Pokédex was therefore with Gen 4 by the possibility, since you are now pretty much able to get every Pokemon from each region back to your game. And this was done so much better. The only problem that I see with transferring your third generation to the third generation is the fact that you have to visit Pal Park, that you had to finish first of all the main story and then could transfer them over. And not only that, but since this was like coated with this mini game, that you only have a limited number of how many Pokémons you want to transfer over, and to recatch them again was really not cool. So therefore, better work for the second and third generation, that the first generation and the second generation, that you could just instantly trade your Pokemon, was so much better than the mini games that is still something common for the next upcoming generations. And yeah, but besides of that, I mean, Heart Gold and Soul Silver are still by far the best Pokemon games ever. And I really only can say again, if you have ever the chance to introduce someone new to the whole genre, please give him the chance to play first of all Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And that's why I wanted to talk about it in a specific video, since I also want to add in some video that you can see how it looked like, how it felt like, and I really give this generation the place that it deserves. and therefore, yeah. I mean, as you can see, while I was talking, I just put it into S tier. I mean, it's already clear that it's S tier by far, and yeah, this brings up, and I think at this point we can see it as the peak of Pokemon. Since then, I really have to say it somehow really changed, uh, and the peak phase of Pokemon was more or less over. And from that on, one problem will ever continue with Pokemon. But I guess this is a topic for a next video with the fifth generation, um, which I'm also excited to talk about it. And so yeah, thanks for turning in, looking at the reboots together with me, since it was one of the best version ever. And I wish you a great day, and yeah, keep on. And we are already at the half of our Pokemon retrospective series. Bye.